That's a big part of this, is when you realize that, a lot of goals that we set, they don't happen the way we planned. Sometimes in fact, they usually take longer than we would like and than we anticipated, right? But if you realize that the highest purpose of a goal, the real value, the real juice, isn't whether or not you reach the goal. It's what are the qualities and the characteristics that you develop by giving it everything you have, regardless of your results, until the last possible moment, which is kind of what the miracle equation enables you to do. That you can't fail. You can literally never fail at experiencing the greatest benefit that a goal has to offer if you approach it through the lens of unwavering faith and extraordinary effort. Because whether or not you hit it, you still become a better version of yourself. And then you get to apply that version of yourself to the next goal you set, and the next goal you set, and the next goal you set.
Hello, folks. Welcome to the Millennial Mastermind, the personal development community for entrepreneurial millennials looking for the tools, tactics, and inspiration to create a business and a life of abundance. Today, I am very excited to welcome Hal Elrod to the Mastermind. For those of you who don't know Hal, he is an entrepreneur, best-selling author, keynote speaker, and podcaster. He is known for his book, The Miracle Morning, which at this point is really a personal development classic. I mean, he was talking about morning routines back before they were cool. You could call him the hipster of morning routines if you want. But he's also a repeat guest on this show. This is his second time stepping into the mastermind. He was on episode 99, where we talked about the car crash that actually stopped his heart for a full 6 minutes, his battle with a very rare and aggressive form of leukemia, and his mindset of acceptance that ultimately helped him not only overcome those challenges, but achieve massive success in the process. He has a new book coming out in April, which will actually align with the day that this episode is released, called The Miracle Equation. But with that, Hal, welcome back to the Mastermind, my friend.
Brad, it is a pleasure and an honor to be here with you again, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it seems like just the other day that we were chatting, and I looked back, and that was already probably 9 months ago, which is just crazy to me.
Wow. Yeah, that time flies, man. Always.
Yeah, but I'm excited to dive into it. And just to start things off, I want to ask you a question that's really top of mind for me because I'm in the middle of it right now. But have you ever had one of those days where it just seems like your inbox is crammed with seemingly urgent things? You wake up and after you do your miracle morning, of course, you check your inbox and it seems like everybody and their mother had sent you some request that needs to get finished out today. Just that feeling of overwhelm. I asked this because I'm having one of those days and I feel like, okay, we're at lunchtime now and I finally got it calmed down a little bit, but I want to know how you manage that process.
Yeah, man, I might just have to ask you how you manage that process. That's literally it's pretty much every day for me. And so what happened is I delegated, I hired an assistant a few years ago and delegated my inbox to her. And then I started a new inbox that would be like a private inbox that only, she and a few people would have. And, son of a gun, I gave it out too many times to too many people saying, well, hey, I've got this. This is how you reach me directly and, go around my assistant. And so now that inbox is out of control and I'm having her take that over. And I think I'm going to start another new one. So the answer is you hire someone to manage your inbox. And I will give you, here's a little bonus tip on that is she started as an intern. And that I think for me is really important. If you're looking at hiring an assistant, start with an intern. And there's a few reasons for that. Number one is if you've never trained or managed another person, you're probably not going to be very good at it right off the bat, not very efficient. And if you're paying someone, it causes a lot more stress when you go, man, I'm paying this person and I don't really know how to fully utilize their talents and their resources and their, I don't know how to manage them. And so when you have an intern that's getting college credit, so they're benefiting in that way and you're not having to pay them, it takes off some pressure and some stress. and allows you to you're both learning on the job how to work with each other. And so that's what happened. And then the beauty of it too is if, rather than hire an employee and then it's not the right employee, then you have to fire him and then you have to find somebody else. With an intern, it's a lot more seamless, a lot easier to go, wait, you did your 3-month internship. And if it didn't work out, you go, all right, I'm moving on. I'm going to find another intern. But if they're amazing, which I got lucky, my first intern was amazing. And she's now a, full-time, operations manager for my company and an executive assistant, and she's on the on payroll, and so she was started out as an intern for 3 months, and then I hired her, and then just went from there.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Not to get too far in the weeds, but was it set up in a way that it was for college credit in the beginning? Is there anything that you had to do on your end for that, or is that totally?
I just had to fill out I had to sign a paper. That was it.
Nice.
I had to sign a paper.
That's a really good tip. I might be looking into that after this call.
Yeah, and just call your local college and just say, "Hey, I'm gonna basically sell them on you that you're a legitimate, entrepreneur and podcast host and this and that, and that you're looking for an intern, and you have to have in your mind kind of what you're looking for and what types of tasks, and then and what they'd be learning, right? And so but that's how it started, and that was the best decision I ever made."
Nice. I love that tip. So you have this new book coming out. You have The Miracle Morning. Now it's another miracle book, The Miracle Equation. You've kind of dubbed yourself as the miracle guy at this point. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but that's the word miracle can mean a lot of different things to different people. So how do you define a miracle?
Yeah, and to your point of the miracle, I never intended to be the miracle guy, but it kind of does fit because when I was 20, I died for 6 minutes, and it came back to life, and was told I would never walk again. Then I walked, so it's like it kind of fits, I guess.
It's
so
appropriate, yeah.
It's kind of appropriate, right? But in terms of how to define a miracle, it's a great question because it's such a loaded word. And there's so many different ways you can define it, different contexts that you can view it from. It can be, religious, right? Where I'm going to pray for a miracle and I'm going to sit back and I'm going to wait. And hopefully that miracle is answered, or it comes into my life, right? And then there's the other miracles that are random, like you're watching the news and you hear about like there was a story I saw years ago of a skydiver that fell, I think 14,000 feet, and the parachute never opened, and they sustained relatively minor injuries. And so whether it's a miracle like that you pray for and you sit back and wait, or it's some random miracle of like, well, the odds of that happening again, I can't count on that. Plus, I don't think anybody wants to jump out of a plane without a parachute and see if they can make it a miracle out of it. It's not an intentional thing.
Not on my bucket list.
No. So the way that I refer to miracles in this book, in the Miracle Equation, it's in the context of miracles that are passive or random, but that we have an active participation in creating, that we decide that we want to create in our lives, and that we create, that we actively create. And so the way that I define it is this: is a miracle is any outcome that is beyond the realm of what you believe is probable for you. So I'll say that again: any outcome that is beyond the realm of what you believe is probable for you. And thus, when you accomplish that outcome, it feels like a miracle. You're like, I can't believe I did that, right? And I could hardly imagine that. I used to think that was impossible, right? I didn't really believe I was going to do it, and I did it, and it feels amazing. So it feels like a miracle. Now, note though that I said any outcome that is beyond the realm of what you believe is probable for you, right? Not possible. Because if you're an optimist, which I would imagine, I know you're an optimist, and I think most people that listen to your show are probably an optimist. We believe in the optimist credo, which is anything is possible, right? Yet possible is rarely enough to get us out of bed with the drive and the motivation to tackle our biggest goals and dreams. Like, Brad, I'll ask you, how often do people pursue that which they don't believe is probable, that they don't really believe is likely to happen?
Yeah, I would guess that it's pretty uncommon, because once that doubt creeps into your mind and you're starting from that place of not believing that it's achievable, just getting over the hump of starting is a major task. And most people aren't even going to try to take that on because they've already convinced themselves that it's pointless.
Exactly. And that's what it keeps our lives the same. And I'm no judgment on my life or your life or anybody's life as, wrong or bad. But I do believe that as human beings, we have an innate drive and desire to fulfill our potential, to optimize our life, right? In every way, our financial success, our health, our happiness, our relationships. If you're a parent, you want to optimize your raising your children, right? So we all have that desire to live and create the most extraordinary life that we can and that we can imagine. But the problem is that human nature is counter to that. We have to fight against human nature, or override or transcend human nature, because human nature is to stay in our comfort zone. It's to do what we've always done. It's to do the easy thing as opposed to the thing that would take more effort and might produce more results, but they're not guaranteed. And that's the thing, is we're looking for some sort of guarantee. It's got to be like, well, if I know I can do it, I'll do it. But if I don't really think I could do it, or I've never done it before, I really don't know, it's such a big goal. I'm just going to, it's easier to just stay the same. But if you look at the world's most successful individuals, the happiest individuals, the most prolific achievers and creators and innovators, they all began by making a decision that they could do something that they had no evidence that they could do. They had never done it before. And a lot of times, a lot of innovators, right? No one had ever done it before. No one had created an iPhone before. No one had gone to the moon until somebody went to the moon. You know what I mean? And so it's these tangible, measurable miracles that we as human beings have the power to create at will, but we have to know how to do it.
Yeah, I like that. And really, when you think about any entrepreneur, especially a first-time entrepreneur, early stage, somebody who's just getting started, that's the case. They're stepping into a world that they don't have any direct evidence that whatever they're trying to do is going to work or be successful. So it's a lot of that leaning on that faith and having the ability to visualize success and then go after it. And so how does the miracle equation, what is the equation, and how does that come into play to help make these miracles in the way that you define them as something beyond the realm of what you believe is probable? How does that help to make those achievable?
So the miracle equation, it's made up of two decisions. And these decisions are, if you study the world's most, again, successful individuals in any area of life, you can define success however you want, you find that virtually all of them, these are the two decisions, not that they made once, but they made them once, and then they made them over and over and over again, and it became a fundamental way of living. Like, these two decisions are kind of like, you wake up and these are the decisions that you live by through the lens of every aspect of your life. The two decisions, and I'll say this before I'll preface the decisions with this. These are extremely simple in their explanation, or I should say they're deceptively simple in their explanation, but extremely rare in their execution. So when I tell you the decisions, you'd be like, okay, but if I left it at that, you wouldn't, you'd be kind of stuck. So here they are. Unwavering faith is the first decision, right? The world's most successful individuals we just talked about, they establish the faith that they can do something they've never done before, and then they maintain that faith until they accomplish it. No matter how long it takes, their faith doesn't waver. But that's not human nature. Most of us, like we just talked about, you said, it's not normal to establish the faith that you can do something you've never done before. And it's maybe even more difficult to maintain that faith. Because again, part of the optimist club is like, it's that uninformed optimism, which is like, I can do anything, anything is possible. But then when even if somebody establishes the faith out of that uninformed optimism that you can do anything, then what ends up happening is once you encounter obstacles, challenges, setbacks, then your faith usually goes out the window. And you usually give up and you go, who was I kidding? I gave it a shot. I tried, it just didn't, I was kidding myself. I was playing out of my lane. I was playing too big, right? So the first decision is unwavering faith. The second decision is extraordinary effort. It's the decision that I will do whatever it takes to achieve my goal, no matter what. There's no other option, right? And I will do it until I get there, and I will do it regardless of my results along the way. Because often when we commit to, I'm going to give it my all, but then the results, the fruit of our labor doesn't quite match what our expectations were. Usually the effort starts to, diminish, and we start to go back to the way things were. So those two decisions are the fundamental decisions that the world's most successful individuals, for a lack of a better term, just for a simple way about putting it, those are the two decisions that they make and that they maintain until they create the results they want, and they do it over and over and over and over again. And that's what makes them what I call miracle mavens, right? And the word maven essentially means one who understands. So people that understand this formula, and even if they don't, of course, they don't call it the miracle equation, right? That's a name that I gave it, but you can distill the entire personal development world, which tells us that there's infinite reasons that we're not where we want to be in our life. It's because of your lack of confidence or emotional intelligence or your beliefs or your habits or your productivity. Like, it's overwhelming, like trying to figure out, there's thousands of books on all these different topics. Which one is which, where do I really need to focus? What's the secret? What's the key, right? And I feel like you can distill hundreds of answers of what's holding us back from what we want into these two decisions.
So let's start with that first one and dive in a little bit deeper. So
okay.
You mentioned the word optimism. Do you really see that unwavering faith and optimism? Is that synonymous in that case?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I don't know that I've thought about it in that context, but my first answer is yes. Those do kind of go hand in hand, right? I mean, you think about what is it when someone steps out on faith that they can do something they've never done before. I'd say that's almost a form of optimism, right? I'm optimistic that I can do this thing that I've never done before. I think a really important distinction is there's a chapter in the book, or is it a section in the book now that I'm thinking about it? But it's called "Your Goal Is Not the Goal." And it's really based on a philosophy that Jim Rohn used to teach, and I learned it from my mentor when I was in sales when I was probably 19 or 20, and I believe he learned it from his mentor, who was Jim Rohn, was one of his primary mentors. And the philosophy is that we are conditioned to think that kind of a fail or succeed mentality around goals, right? Which is like, if I set a goal and reach it, then I have succeeded. But if I set a goal and don't reach it, then I have failed. And so it's kind of this black or white succeed or fail mentality that prevents a lot of people from going after big goals, because there's this innate fear of failure. Like, oh, what if I fail? So when you redefine the purpose of a goal to be more important than hitting the goal, and what's more important than hitting the goal is developing the qualities and the characteristics that you would develop if you gave it everything you had in attempt to reach a goal, regardless of your results along the way and whether or not you ultimately reached it. If you hit a goal, then maybe you make some money or you get an award or whatever, right? But that's kind of short-lived. That's a benefit that's like a moment in time, and maybe you spend the money real quick or whatever. But who you become. So I said developing the qualities and characteristics. That, in other words, who you become during that process when you live by the miracle equation, right? If you will establish unwavering faith that you can do something that you've never done before that's really meaningful to you. It could be lose 20 pounds. It could be, make $1 million. It could be spend more time with your kids, whatever. So whatever it is for you that's meaningful, if you establish the unwavering faith that you can do something that's bigger and better, you've never done it before, and you maintain that unwavering faith as you move toward it, you put forth extraordinary effort. Even though you hit obstacles and setbacks, you keep the faith, you keep putting forth the effort. And then when you get to the end of the road, right? You get to the, let's say, the deadline, the date that you're supposed to reach this goal, and you fall a little bit short. Now, most people, that old paradigm of goal setting is like, oh, well, I failed. I didn't reach my goal. Well, but no. Did you develop the qualities and the characteristics that will now stay with you forever, that will enable you to be more capable and determined and to reach goals, bigger and better goals for the rest of your life? And the answer is yes, right? Like, only the growth lasts forever. So that's a big part of this, is when you realize that, a lot of goals that we set, they don't happen the way we planned. Sometimes in fact, they usually take longer than we would like and than we anticipated, right? But if you realize that the highest purpose of a goal, the real value, the real juice, isn't whether or not you reach the goal. It's what are the qualities and the characteristics that you develop by giving it everything you have, regardless of your results, until the last possible moment, which is kind of what the miracle equation enables you to do. That you can't fail. You can literally never fail at experiencing the greatest benefit that a goal has to offer if you approach it through the lens of unwavering faith and extraordinary effort. Because whether or not you hit it, you still become a better version of yourself. And then you get to apply that version of yourself to the next goal you set, and the next goal you set, and the next goal you set. So when you adopt the miracle equation as a way of living, right, it just changes who you are fundamentally. And now that impacts every area of your life in a powerful way.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And sometimes I like to use fitness as a great way to illustrate things like this, because you can really see and understand the changes that are being made. And the way I would relate it is, if you set a fitness goal for yourself, for example, you want to be able to bench press X amount of weight 10 times, even by X date. Even if you don't hit that goal, if you're really putting in that extraordinary effort and you believe you can do it, you're going to be way more jacked by the time you hit that date, even if you miss that goal, than when you started, because you're working towards it and you're putting the effort into becoming better and achieving that goal. So,
yeah, and if you go, I guess it's going to take me an extra month. Okay, great.
Right.
But most people never get out the gate because they think that either it's going to take too long, or it's too hard, or that they don't really have the capability they need, or you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. So kind of along those lines then, what if doubt creeps in somewhere along the line? Do you have any tactical advice for, when that mental block does show up, as it often does somewhere in the middle of the process for a lot of us?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, so I haven't even told the kind of the story. I'll try to sum it up here, how this whole thing came to be. So the miracle equation came long before the miracle morning. For anybody from the outside looking in, they'd probably go, Hal wrote this book, The Miracle Morning. It sold 1 million copies, and now he's following it up with like the spinoff or the next, the miracle equation. And while that's true in a lot of ways, I started calling this thing the miracle equation 6 years before the Miracle Morning was even something I thought of or practiced, right? Long before it was a book. And so like, I think 12 years before the Miracle Morning was a book, it was the miracle equation was something I was practicing in my own life. And then I started teaching to people. And the way that it came about is I was in a sales contest where I was trying to break the company record. And to put that in perspective, so the company Cutco, I was selling Cutco cutlery, kitchen knives, in-home presentations. It was not the easiest job. I did it for 6 years, from 19 to 25. And I was trying to break this record, which meant that the company had been around for 50 years at that time. So essentially, I was trying to do something that not only had I never done before, but no one in the 50-year history of the company had ever done before. So it was very scary. It was very intimidating. And the way this came about is I reverse engineered it, which simply means, right, you go to the end and you ask yourself, okay, if I were to achieve this, very challenging and really, in many cases, this one included, seemingly impossible goal. If I were to achieve this, what would I have to do between now and then? And I just distilled it into these two decisions. And I don't know that I called it unwavering faith. I think I just, in layman's terms, I said, I would have to believe and tell myself that I could reach my goal no matter what, even if I wasn't on track until the last moment. I'd have to keep telling myself, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I'm committed. I'm giving it everything I have, because I knew, to your point, that self-doubt was going to show up. It always does. And especially the bigger the goal, right? The more challenging it is, where if you're working toward a goal where it's like, man, everything kind of has to go right for me to reach this goal, which that was the case during this, this record I was trying to break. So I thought, number one is I'm going to have a lot of fear and self-doubt along the way. So I'm going to have to override that fear with faith, right? And the way that I did that is what I call I call it in the book, the miracle mantra. And I'll give you the simplest form. It's, I am committed to giving it everything I have until the last moment to reach my goal, no matter what. There's no other option, right? I am committed to giving it everything I have until the last possible moment in order to reach my goal, no matter what. There is no other option. And so whenever I would have fear creep in and self-doubt creep in, well, think about this. If you're listening, right, what you've heard the adage probably that what we focus on expands. What you focus on expands. If you have a fear that gets planted in your consciousness, if you focus on that fear, you start to think about, well, what if this happens? And then that could lead to this. And and what if this? All of a sudden that fear expands and it gets bigger. Picture it as like a little orb, a little seed in your brain. And now all of a sudden it's becoming like a tumor, right? I mean, it's growing and growing and growing until we get consumed by our fear and self-doubt and we give up. Once faith goes out the window and it's overridden by self-doubt and fear, it's like, well, you've lost. You're not going to keep moving forward if you don't really believe you can do something. And so the mantra is very simple. And like when I would have a no sale. So again, I was in a sales contest. I would have a no sale. I would have a day where I fell way short of my goal for the day. I would have, a customer completely forget to show up there for their appointment. I'd have someone buy an order and then they would call me and be like, hey, my husband came home. He was mad. I have to cancel it. And I'd be like, no, it was my biggest order of the week. So all these things happen. And so rather than focusing on nothing, but focusing on them and expanding, amplifying them doesn't serve us. Focusing on our self-doubt doesn't serve us. We need to override that fear and self-doubt with faith. And so that mantra that I am committed to giving it everything I have until the last possible moment, no matter what, there's no other option. And I think I left out in order to reach my goal somewhere in there. But that mantra is how you keep your eye on the prize. It's how you keep yourself moving forward. It's how you keep from letting the voice of self-doubt become the voice that consumes your mind. Because and when I had cancer, it was the same thing, right? I had a 30% chance of surviving. And so I would say to myself, I'm committed to beating cancer and living. My miracle mantra was, I'm committed to beating cancer and living to be 100 plus years old with my family, no matter what. There is no other option. And honestly, Brad, probably every day, the fear of death would enter my mind. I lost a quarter of my body weight. I, lost all my hair. I was on chemo. I was sick. I was in the ER fighting for my life. I had, potentially fatal temperatures many nights when I would go to the ER. And the idea of losing my wife and my two kids, or them losing me and me not being in their lives, like there's nothing. That's the worst. That's my worst nightmare. Like that, leaving my children without a father is my worst nightmare. And so I would have that thought. Now, the difference is a lot of people that have that thought, if they have cancer or they're afraid of dying or any fear, is that they go down the rabbit hole of that fear and that self-doubt, right? They go down the rabbit hole and they examine it, they amplify it, they expand it, and it becomes a big part of their consciousness, and it affects our thinking, it affects our emotions, it affects our behavior. So for me, that I'd have those fears, but I never went down the rabbit hole. I never dwelled on the fear. I never expanded it or amplified it. I acknowledged it for a moment. And then, I never spent more than a minute or 5 minutes on it. And I went, no. I am committed. I am 100% committed to giving it everything I have to live to 100 plus years old, no matter what. There's no other option. And that became my reality. And then it led to the second decision of extraordinary effort, which is like, okay, if I'm committed to that, now I have to put forth the effort that will make that success inevitable. I have to do the things that will make it virtually inevitable, that if I do these things, that will get me where I want to go. And that's a big part of the book. The extraordinary effort part of the book is I really, in the book, simplify it, because human nature we don't want to put forth extraordinary effort. We want to put forth ordinary effort. We want to do the minimum we have to do to get by, right? It's the path of least resistance. That's human nature. So the idea is, how do you make extraordinary effort, which is required for extraordinary results, but how do you make it feel ordinary? And the answer is, you simplify it into a recurring process that you do on a daily basis, or, it could be daily or every other day or weekly, but you do it on a regular basis. And you simply do it can be one thing every day that moves you in the direction, not of the life you already have, but one thing that's outside the realm of the life you're already living, that will move you closer to creating the goals, the dreams that you have, that are beyond what your current reality is. And if you continuously move, even if it's just an inch, just a little bit each and every day toward a predetermined outcome, a tangible, measurable miracle, then your success is inevitable. You eventually get there. Usually takes longer than you planned, right? Sometimes it's shorter, but usually it takes as long, if not longer. But eventually you move your success your biggest goals from possible to probable to inevitable. And that's, that's the element of the extraordinary effort that you can apply in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming. You don't have to hustle and grind and work 80 hours a week. You've just got to keep it moving every day a little bit in the direction of your biggest goals.
Yeah, and on the extraordinary effort piece, that aligns with the concept that we talk about on this show. The one thing, and you may know Jeff Woods and Jay Papasan and some of those guys from over there in your neck of the woods in Austin, but that just boiling it down to those small recurring tasks that you can just focus on one at a time to make it seem simple. And it is simple when you think about the process. It just requires really a focused effort, an extraordinary effort to continue to do that, to build towards this really big BHAG or big, hairy, audacious goal that you may have set for yourself.
Sure.
On the optimism or the unwavering faith piece, so that really jives well with me. I'm probably too much of an optimist at times to the point of insanity.
Me too. Yeah.
But I know there will be some people who are thinking, is there ever a point that you should quit or at least pivot? Within this equation, does that leave room for that at all? Or is the idea, no, there is really no time when you actually call it quits until you hit that goal?
No, absolutely. To your point, so the miracle equation, the culminating, like the last chapter in the book is the miracle equation 30-day challenge. Kind of like the same thing I had in the Miracle Morning, because it's like, all right, you just learned all this stuff. Don't do what most people do, which is close the book and not apply it, right? Like, let's create a step-by-step plan for the next 30 days so that you can begin on your path to creating a tangible, measurable miracle, or reignite one that you were working on and that you may have given up on. And one of the steps is that you have to assess your progress along the way. Because the reality is, right, we often can set out on a path and then realize that, we're going the wrong way, or we're slightly off course. We need to make an adjustment. So no, absolutely, you have to adjust. And also part of it is when you go out there and you approach a goal, a dream, in the way that we talked about, where the purpose, the ultimate purpose, the highest value and benefit isn't reaching it, right? It's developing the qualities and characteristics along the way. Well, what ends up happening a lot of times is as you're working toward a goal and maybe you don't reach it, or even on the path toward reaching it, you realize, I actually, based on who I'm becoming, because that opens all sorts of, that just opens up your mind. It opens up opportunities and resources when you're living with unwavering faith and you're pursuing these goals and these dreams. You're putting forth extraordinary effort, right? You're going to create new opportunities and new possibilities for yourself. And often that could lead to a different goal, a different dream, a different miracle, if you will, that you want to create. I originally was going to be, my dream was to be the all-time greatest Cutco manager in the history of our company, right? When I was 19, that was my dream. When I was 20, I was hit head on by a drunk driver and, found dead at the scene. And in the hospital, I went, maybe I'm meant to do something else. Maybe this happened for a reason, but I believe everything happens for a reason, but we got to decide the reason. It's not left up to chance. It's what you decide. How am I going to use this experience, to create value for myself, for the world, etc. And so for me, I decided I am going to be I want to be a motivational speaker and I want to write a book and share my story. Happened because when I started in sales, as one of the top sales reps for the company, they asked me to give a speech at my very first conference, and that went pretty well. And so they asked me to give a speech at the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So I had given dozens and dozens of speeches in front of audiences as big as, I think 500 people or something like that. And then I got in a car accident. But the qualities and characteristics that I developed by becoming one of Cutco's, top sales reps, those came with me, right? So again, the greatest value of a goal isn't reaching the goal. It's who you become in the process, who I became by, breaking these Cutco records. And because I was working really hard and I was applying the miracle equation, then I got to pivot and apply it to becoming a college speaker. Then I got to pivot a little bit and apply it to becoming a corporate keynote speaker, right? And that's my dream. That's my favorite thing to do is to inspire audiences from the stage and meet people in person. And so the point is, yes, you can absolutely pivot. And, very rarely it's a small percentage of entrepreneurs, I think, that you meet that are like, yep, I knew from day one exactly what I was going to do, and that's exactly what I did, and nothing changed. And it's like, no, I didn't. Most people, it totally changes, it totally evolves. But who you become is what will always stay with you and enable you to accomplish more, achieve more, pivot, go down any path that you want, and find success.
I love it. And so I know we were talking before the call, and you're doing some really cool things and have some cool giveaways along with the launch of this one. Where can people find more about the book? And would you mind just sharing a little bit more information on what you're doing with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody can get a sneak peek of the book at miracleequation.com. So if you're like, I'm interested, but I'm not sold yet. Like, I'm not sure I want to buy the book yet. Go to miracleequation.com. You can download a free sneak peek. Or if you are like, I'm willing to spend $20, invest $20 in this miracle equation concept, then you can get the book wherever books are sold: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target.com, Walmart.com, you name it. But here's the cool part. So I really, Brad, just totally transparent. Like, I really want this book to do well. I feel like it can radically enhance and transform people's lives and replace fear with faith and enable them to create, just greater results than they ever have before. And to do that, I also know human nature is like, I got a lot of books on my shelf, I can do this later. So I'm working with a book launch manager, and he basically said, hey, let's just, we're going to create real value for people so that if they'll buy your book when it comes out on April 16th, or I think it's within like a day or two after, but buy it on pub day, then what you'll get is you forward your email receipt to miracleequation@gmail.com. So you buy the book today if you can. Forward your receipt to miracleequation.com miracleequation@gmail.com, and you'll get over $1,000 in bonuses. And the biggest one, I'll throw this out there. The biggest one is I'm going to lead a live 6-week live course. I've never done a live course before. I've always wanted to. So the week after, so basically next week, if you're listening to this today, when it comes out, that next week there's going to be, we're going to start a live online course, a 6-week course, implementing the miracle equation, because it's one thing to read a book, but it's another thing to actually put everything into practice. And so I'm going to guide you through that process for 6 weeks. And you'll also get a guided meditation and, again, over $1,000 in bonuses. And all you have to do is forward the receipt to miracleequation@gmail.com.
That's awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that you sharing that offer, and I think that a lot of people will hopefully take you up on that. I know I will be. I want to get into that.
Thanks,
I want to get into that live training. Heck yeah.
No, I'm pumped. The live training is going to be cool. The more I think about it, and I've been planning it and going, man, this is really valuable. Because the funny thing is, there's so many things that when you write a book, and then you send it off to the printer, and and then it goes to be published and all of that, you end up having all these great ideas after that you can't go back and change in the book. Right? You're like, oh, I should have done that different. I should have said that differently, or I should have included this, right? So I have all these notes that I've taken, like falling asleep at midnight and waking up in the middle of the night with, oh my gosh, this moment of inspiration, and so I'm like, the beauty is it's all going to be in this course, right? Like everything that didn't make it in the book is going to make it into the course. So really cool.
Awesome. Well, Hal, thank you so much for joining us today. I know that anybody who listens to this is going to take a lot of value out of it. So I appreciate you being willing to come back on the show and share some of the stuff that you poured into this new book. And I know that you're just adding a ton of value into this world. So I appreciate you.
Ditto, Brad. Thank you for having me, my friend. And everybody that listened, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing the miracles that you'll create.